Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host and tea aficionado, Kevin Gallagher.
My fucking little
today,
La Crusette teapot here just to show you how tough I am. I buy the good shit.
That's some bougie. That's a bougie teapot right
there.
Very,
very bougie.
That's like Imperial China right there. And we are joined by two people that hate my guts, and I can't stand them either. In fact, I don't know why they're here. They're probably just going to make fun of me the whole time.
Because none of us have anything else better to do. So
yeah, I figured this is to take a pound of flesh from Kevin today. This Kevin, not that Kevin. Because we're just trying to stay sane. These are two of my good buddies, training partners, and absolute world beaters, both coming off of really high finishes on the IBJJF qualifiers. Was it
Nogi Worlds?
It was Nogi Worlds. Yeah. Blue belt Bobby Andrews and purple belt Ruben Blanco, both at the Hive Martial Arts Academy. How you fellas doing today? Trick question. You're doing terribly.
I'm bored out of my mind.
Damn, Kevin.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Bobby, I'm just mad at you because you got a good beard. And everybody here can grow a good beard except for me.
Just take all that chest that you have and shave and put on your face. That's what Bobby does.
Kevin, once you get past puberty, you'll be able to grow one.
I swear I can't beat you in grappling, so I'm gonna hit you with my car. That's
my car's bigger, so
my Jeep could probably take your car. I'm gonna go ahead and say
actually.
I got
a nice big bumper on mine, so
I don't know, man. Now I'm scared. Now I'm just scared because now I don't know if my car can beat yours. This is just another check-in episode, a pretty casual, just to see how the common BJJ man is doing in this absolute dire time. Kev, let's start with you. How have you been since the last episode?
I mean, I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've been still laying around the house. I got my mats at the house. I throw them down on the ground and I stretch a little bit, and then I do my little workout routine. One of the guys that I used to train with gave me access to a steel mace, so I've been doing steel mace workouts with that, and just doing everything I can to at least find a little time to do something and get something in. I mean, most of it's just laying around in bed playing video games and watching TV, but
the idea of you with a metal mace. I don't think he's staying in shape. I think, oh man, he's gonna try taking over Tampa.
Right. I'm training apocalypse training.
He's just gonna see how much of Tampa Bay he could take over as a sort of warlord with a mace.
I think I would be a kind and caring warlord, though. I would definitely rule with an iron fist, but it would be through kindness. I think I would want what's best for the common man and fight for that as much as I possibly could.
You would stay out of their way. All you want to do is to chill and play Red Dead Redemption.
I just want to be alive. I just want everyone to be okay. I want to play my Red Dead Redemption. I want to be left alone. I want to be able to go do jiu-jitsu every once in a while.
All right. I already know the answer to this, but Ruben, what kind of warlord will you be once everything goes tits up?
Kill them all.
There we go.
I don't see myself as a warlord, more like a king or royalty of some sort, but
oh my God.
As long as everybody just trains jiu-jitsu and has fun, I don't give a shit.
So mandatory jiu-jitsu in your different provinces is what I'm hearing.
Yes, 100%. Mandatory should be in school right now. Mandatory.
That's something we've actually talked about. There's like some schools I know in Canada, and I think there was even one in Florida that has a high school jiu-jitsu club, not wrestling, but like.
I mean, in Dubai, they have the jiu-jitsu is almost a national sport in Dubai. They teach it in the schools. They teach it everywhere. So that's why a lot of it's in high demand. A lot of big black belts go over there to go teach.
Do you think that's man? It's weird, Bobby. As someone who's currently in the education system, how would you feel about like mandated jiu-jitsu?
I would be stoked because then I could just wreck everyone in high school and I would rule them all.
People would realize that you should be the cool kid. That-
Yeah. It's the only way I'm gonna make it up to the top.
Are you talking about having jiu-jitsu retrospectively, or you're talking about having jiu-jitsu in high schools right now where you could be a 24-year-old man beating up on the high school kids when you go back to teach it, or does it matter?
I think I would love to just go back. Well, I didn't have jiu-jitsu in high. Like, I only got into it when I was in college. Bobby is currently actually, Kevin, how old do you think Bobby is?
Bobby, I know Bobby. Bobby's the one that you've talked about that takes forever to eat and is a he's 15 with a full beard, right? So I know how old Bobby is. You're right. Now it's clear to me now. So.
Yeah, he actually, as we broke the story on this podcast, that he started the coronavirus. So
right.
Everybody in the world of jiu-jitsu, this is a highly accredited publication, the Jiu-Jitsu Times. It's his fault. This guy right over here with his beard.
You got the pointing right. See, because I'm off. I had to you practice that. That's impressive.
I think about it all the time.
So
Yeah, but
Bobby, tell us what it's like to eat bat. What's the flavor profile? Is it
I gotta say it's one of the more delicious, delicate foods.
little
gotta
on the
mix it
gaming
in.
side?
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to find, you know. They only have like one soup, which is why I think I spreaded it all.
Now, how much garlic is too much garlic in bat soup? Like, are we talking just a pinch, or
There's
is it like
never too much garlic. You can put a whole thing of garlic in there, and you wouldn't even taste it.
You got to kill the pandemic taste. So you just add as much spice as you possibly can.
Yeah, you know what? That Corona just tasted in there.
Right.
Oh, man.
this is truly signs of going stir crazy, folks. I hope you don't hold it against us too bad. But yeah, Bobby, we've talked about this just in conversation after you're done kicking my ass, but like, you're like secretly like a ninja at school. Like, no one is really aware of the fact that you're this high level competitor.
Actually, I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
I'm sure everybody
my
knows.
No, but do
Not even my fault.
they know what that means? Like, do they get what jiu-jitsu is, or
No, a lot of people just think it's like karate.
yeah.
But everybody
I
knows I
bet
can
you
beat them up.
that's Kai.
They're not really aware of the depth of jiu-jitsu's self-defense prowess.
Yeah.
They just think of it as like, oh, it's just a karate kid. And they still don't really understand
Yeah, no one really
like their own mortality at that point. There's something to be said about that too, that jiu-jitsu teaches you. And it's Joe Rogan talks about it a lot. He talks about it on that you see that little like clip he put out that talks about like how jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and like those are real fighting skills. And part of the thing that makes, again, what makes jiu-jitsu so great is the fact that it really makes you understand what violence really is. And a lot of the world think they know what violence is, but they don't really understand what a true violent encounter is like. And when what happens, they're like, "Oh fuck, this is the reality of things." I don't know where I was going with that.
I think that's funny, just because like that sort of reminds me of this one time in college that I almost got to be in a fight, and I was so excited because I was like 8 months into being a white belt. And I didn't think I was any good, but I loved rolling, and I got woken up in the middle of the night outside, like, and I looked down. I was on the second floor of my my apartment building, and I saw a bunch of other college kids were like wrestling in the grass in the back like of my apartment. And that guy ran downstairs. I'm like, hey, can I, like, you guys, like, what's the format here? What are we doing? And they're just like, we're just wrestling. And I'm like, can I wrestle? Like, or can I tap in? Can I sub in? And someone said, nah, he trains UFC. And I'm like, okay, that's not true. There's a lot wrong with that sentence.
But it's unfair. I guess was the point of the matter is it's unfair to them, so they don't want to mess with you.
I mean, like, it's weird though. And like a lot of people still see it like Bobby. There's probably some people that think you train UFC or something.
Yeah, a lot of people think I'd train like other stuff. I'm like, no, it's jiu-jitsu.
That's interesting. So tell me a little bit what it's like for you in a high school setting with these. I mean, because I feel like personally that a lot of it goes either way. Like when because I bartend, I work at a bar and I bounce at a bar and shit like that. And most people know that I am, a jiu-jitsu world champion, and because I'd make sure I'd fucking tell everybody. I never shut the fuck up about it. But
you shut up about it exactly one time, and that was when we had Roxanne on.
Yeah, I always say I laugh about it. I enjoy it because it's fun. It'll get me a date here and there, but at the end of the day, it's a Masters 3, brown belt world champion, Master 2 brown belt world championship, but whatever, it's still a world championship. But the point of the matter is that I generally have two different reactions to people when they find out that I train or I'm a high level competitor. And the first one is usually like, oh shit, like a feeling of this person is, a bad person, is tough, and we should, be cool around it and understand, because I'm also a nice person. I don't think I'm a dick. You know what I mean? Like I don't make that out. I don't go out there to make people feel like this bad person. But on the other side of it, there are also people out there that are like, oh, you're one of them UFC guys, huh? Oh, what do you think, you're tough? Like, well, I'm from the street. What would you do if I did this? What would you do if I did that? What do you feel like that is like for you on a daily basis on that level, like at a high school level?
Honestly, I don't get like people threatening me that much with it. A lot of people just like are afraid of me,
right?
Which is weird to me.
But it should be.
Yeah, you should be. But that's my sister's fault. She went and told literally everybody I could beat everybody up. I'm like, great, thanks for ruining that for me. But usually, like when I tell people that I train, they think it's weird. Like people just like have the reaction of like, that's weird. What even is that? And I don't really know. I'm like, jiu-jitsu. Learn it. It's cool.
Do you feel like you get, and this is again one of the reasons why I talk about why I feel jiu-jitsu is effective self-defense, particularly for kids. I mean, you're not necessarily a kid, but you're kind of, in that adolescent stage. People are old enough now to kind of like, you're not having kids like bully you and shit as much anymore. I mean, it happens, but not on the same scale as it would in like an elementary school setting. But do you feel like because you have this aura of confidence about yourself that you tend to avoid fights, and fights tend to kind of go away from you, or altercations tend to go away from you because you're just confident in the fact that you can defend yourself?
Oh, 100%. I've only almost gotten to a fight once, and the whole time, like, the kid went around telling everybody he could fight me and everything, and I was like, okay, whatever, man. I walked up to the kid. I'm like, so I heard you're going to fight me. And the kid immediately backed down.
Right.
He was like, no, man, I would never do that. I've never. But generally, I never start fights. I don't go around, like, acting like, oh, you have a problem with me? Let's fight. Like,
or even concern yourself with people that are concerned about talking trash about how they can kick your ass or different. The point I'm trying to make is the confidence that you gain from training martial arts as opposed to the actual application of it. Because honestly, in the application of it, yeah, you could kick that dude's ass. But the point is because you're confident in that fact, now the fight doesn't occur because you don't have any desire or care to prove anything to any person like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't like not the I'm trying to say. Like people don't like. I have a lot of confidence in the fact that like I know I can do what I know. I know what I'm doing. So when people like say around and they go around and say that they can fight me, I don't really bother with it. I don't really mention it to anybody. So like I don't start anything with fights and stuff. So
yeah, I see that a lot, and again, I'm only bringing this back to tie into correlations because that's something that. I mean, it never goes away because I work with grown ass men all the fucking time, and once you start adding alcohol to the equation, there's still a bunch of fucking idiots and retards, and then they get a little alcohol in them, and they think, oh, you know what? Maybe Kevin ain't so tough. Maybe I can get up in his face. Maybe I don't have to listen to what he has to say.
He shaved the beard. He's not that.
Yeah,
tough
right.
Exactly.
But the point I'm trying to make with this is that even at a young age, like learning that confidence in yourself is a deterrent. So learning how to fight, in effect, keeps you from having to fight because now you don't have to fuck with shit. Like one of the things that I find most, and you made the comparison to say that the kid wanted to fight you and you came up to him and said, hey, all right, let's do this thing. Like in my altercations, when I have situations where I have to throw somebody at a bar and they're in my face and they're screaming and hollering, like, because I have the confidence to not escalate the situation, I can end fights almost with my mind sometimes, just by giving them the idea of saying, hey man, like, you know, like, you shouldn't do this because, you know, I am a freaking enforceable person and I am a trained person. And I do that just by looking at them with confidence and saying, hey dude, like, we can do this, but like, you probably don't want to. And I don't really care if we do it or not, but if you do come at me, I'm going to have to protect myself.
I'm going to clip this part of the episode and make it a story on JJT saying Kevin Gallagher believes in no touch knockouts. Like, she send it to McDojo. Like this guy abandons jiu-jitsu and he just thinks he can knock people out with his mind.
It's funny, man. I think a lot of that fucking chi mindset comes from things like that too. Before we move on, I just wanted to say Ruben has a very similar story wherein you were talking that one time about how you were on a date and a whole table of people tried to mess with you.
Let me sit up for this one.
Yeah, man. Get comfortable.
Could you point the camera a little bit away from the glare, just because we can't really see? Yeah,
if you turn, if there's any way you can turn, like with the window facing you. Oh my God. You just went right to another window.
Yeah,
good.
I also got windows.
Yeah,
could you just close the shade? Like,
it's really not that big of a deal. If you
Kevin.
It's better.
Get in a house store right now.
I just want to see you walk around. I'm actually the lighting was fine. I'm just enjoying this.
So it was actually funny. I went out with a friend of mine. We haven't talked in years. We went out to like this bougie bar, wine bar in Long Branch in New Jersey.
How old are you, by the way? Just before we get into this,
I'll be 39 in 2 weeks.
All right, you're an old ass man, just like me. So you're wise. You're wise too. Maybe not so wise, but we get the idea.
No, Kevin, stop it.
Not wise at all. He is not wise.
No, you're not gonna. Bobby, back me up on this. He doesn't get to say that. You don't get to say that.
You don't want to say that.
Let's hear the story first.
So we're out, and we were drinking since about like 7, and it's about like midnight now. And I go to the bathroom, I come back, and another friend of mine happened to be there. And basically, she's like, yo, your friend's drunk. You should probably take her home, whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So we're walking outside, and there's these 3 kids smoking. And, she like points at them. She's like, you, and you're ruining your lives. You're ruining mine, this and that. I like grab by the hip. I'm like, all right, let's just keep walking. No big deal. And all I hear is, yeah, that's right. Control your bitch. And I'm like, did you really? But I turn over. I'm like, all right, well, now I have to, be a grown ass man. I have to talk to these like little hipsters. There's like 3 of them. So I walk up to them and I may have said some, over adult things that I probably shouldn't have said. And like the 2 guys next to him, like, just like, I got in this kid's face. I'm like, listen, man, like, I was pretty harsh about it, the way I said it. Pretty much just fucking saying, like, I'll, take him, shove him up your ass, and shove his head up his ass. Form you guys into human, like, centipede. And like the 2 guys were like, yo, this guy's crazy. Let's just go. I'm like, yeah, you guys. By then I wasn't in the mood. It was late. It was just like, just like the comment was like so uncalled for. Like I was already like 10 feet away. You didn't need to say it, But like at that point, like it didn't even like hit my mind. Like, oh, there's 3 of them. There's 1 of me. Like I'm like, yeah, it didn't even bother me because I knew the minute like I showed them, like, dude, I don't give a fuck if there's 3 or 300 of you. I wasn't gonna move. They all of a sudden like, okay, yeah, let's just go back inside and go sip on some more like cider beer and mocktails and thing.
And that's the point, man. That's the point, because like it's just, it goes back to that fear of violence, because like, when you're doing jiu-jitsu, granted we're not in a firefight and it's really not a real fight, but we're simulating what real life violence is going to be like. Like jiu-jitsu is a fucking violent. When you're training jiu-jitsu, it's a violent exchange. Like you're going hard, full out, 100%, against a struggling opponent that's trying to attack you in the same manner.
Yeah.
And like, people don't understand that. And when you present, and people like the posture, they like to be tough, and they like to, want to show off in front of their friends because there's this like carnal desire to be an alpha. But when you show them, hey man, like I don't care. Like I understand violence and I am going to impose my violence on you. And you know what? I might lose this fight, but I don't care. People respect that. Most of the time they just walk away.
Yeah, and let's say that's pretty much what it was. Like it wasn't even the point of like, it was one of those things like, yeah, I just want to somebody or, like, oh, let me see if I can hit a bolo in the middle of a parking lot, type of deal. It was just kind of like, it was uncalled for. Like, don't be a dick, because then, said 90% of the people, they don't know what they're doing. And the minute it's not even about fighting, the minute you show them like
right
scared of it, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's like not a pussy. Let's just
that's the key right there. It's not even about fighting. It's about showing like, hey, bro, like I'm not the guy that's gonna argue and yell and scream. Like I'm not here to like bang on my chest like a gorilla to scare you. Like I'm gonna fuck you up. And when people understand that, like that's what I tell people. Like when I'm in situations like that, like I'm not gonna argue with you. We're not gonna stand here. I'm not gonna freaking like get in my face and scream and holler. Like sometimes I will, because I'm trying to make them understand I don't want to fight you. But at the end of the day, like like this shit's gonna go down, and people respect that. And even if they don't think they do, there's somewhere inside their little pea brains, their little like freaking lizard brains, where they figure out danger, and they may yell at you while they're walking away, but they're definitely walking away.
I think it also goes back to the fact that if someone's willing to take it there, they're not as prepared to even if they have a background in it, they're not as prepared to fight as you might be in order to stop them. Like there was that story a few years ago of this Olympic, I think it was either judo or wrestling. Olympic medalist was in I think it might have been in Seoul. Like he was at a bar just being belligerent, and the bartender had to be the one to like tell him to stop, and the bartender was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and he ended up being able to like take this guy and submit him and hold him so other people could get him out. And it goes to the fact, like, if you're already being in a space and causing a problem, you've already given up a lot of your mental wherewithal. Like you're not operating at
100%
a full clip. Like it doesn't matter like if you're like a Gracie, if you're like a Danaher guy, like it doesn't matter what you do. Like even if you're a jiu-jitsu killer, you're out causing problems. I feel like people are going to be able to take care of you and keep the peace.
It's funny you say that, because there's a term that I use for that. There's a strength in righteousness. So in other words, like there's always something, and it's not always the case, because there are horrible people out there that are dangerous people that go out and do horrible, shitty things.
And
with
some
the
of them do
intent,
jiu-jitsu.
and some of them, right, and with the intent of doing shitty things. But there's always a strength and a power to righteousness. So when there's a situation where there's obviously someone that is wrong and someone that is right in a situation, whether it be through alcohol, whether it be through whatever ridiculousness that ensued the confrontation, there's always generally not always, but there's generally someone who is in the righteous manner and someone that is not. And there's a power to that righteousness, because when you're not right, even though you don't think you do consciously, there's a part of you that realizes that you are doing this not from a good place. And that makes you weak and it makes you slow. And I've noticed that, because I'm an asshole too. I like to pretend like I'm this righteous person, but I'm also a fucking dick. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been drunk. I had a fucking shaded. I was a little fuckhead back in the days. You know what I'm saying? So I've gone out and been that person that started shit for no reason, just because why the fuck not? And then when you realize you're doing it, there's always that fear in your mind of like, fuck, dude, why did I make this thing happen?
So when Bobby and Ruben, whenever you guys rip a submission into me and I almost die, do you feel like you're powered by righteousness as you're doing that? Like this is the right thing to do, that God wants me to do this?
100%. I think I'm making you a better person.
That's right.
We're improving you, Kevin.
We're making you a better person, Kevin. Good answer. Good answer.
I feel like if I do that, you won't tap the footlocks in competition.
One day I'm gonna live that down, right? Like I feel like eventually it'll.
Probably not.
Nah, man.
You'll be on the podium at Worlds as a black belt. And I'm like, hey, me tap in a blue belt tournament to a footlock.
No
What do you
one
mean?
like.
I will ruin your one good moment.
Instead of placing the medal on my neck, they just sort of toss it to me like, you get it, but just like get out of here. Like we don't want to see you.
How long have you been a purple belt for, Ruben? I'm just curious.
God, 4 years now.
Okay, so you can answer this question. This is something that I have an answer for this that I know simply because I'm a black belt. I've been training for fucking ever, so I understand these things. But I'm just curious from, we have a blue belt, we have 2 blue belts, we have purple belt. I'm curious from your perspective, some of the things you think differ or make you a purple belt, knowing what it was like being a blue belt, and based on what are some of the things that are required of you to be a blue belt and why purple belt and why you are a purple belt now, and maybe you could give some advice to the two blue belts here, or maybe even blue belts watching. On some
I just want to specify, Bobby is a very skilled guy. I'm like the lowest guy here.
But I'll say this, and it's a little bit different with young kids that start up training all together. Because Bobby, I don't know, how old are you, Bobby?
16.
15. Yeah, you
16.
can't even get your purple belt until you're, I think, 20. I think you got to be 20 to get a purple belt. I don't know, or 18, I think it is.
I think it's 18.
So like there are a
get
lot of young 16-year-old blue belts that are fucking purple belts, brown belts, black belts. They just can't get that grade because they're not old enough. So you're kind of an exception to the rule. But based upon what I said, what do you think are some of the things that make you a purple belt and some of the things that blue belts could do to get to that next level?
Man, honestly, I feel like I'm probably the first and worst person to give any advice. I've been doing this for 10 years now.
You're purple belt, so you're still an asshole. But I'm still concerned.
Yeah, no,
I want your opinion on the matter anyway. So don't overthink it.
I mean, honestly, just the only thing I could really say is just every day, just like tell blue belts like, I mean, it's simple. I mean, I'm sure it sounds so cliche, but leave your ego at the door. Show up, shut the fuck up, train. Like it happens over time. Like for the longest time, I was obsessed with, the next belt, the next belt, the next belt. And then one day, kind of like it wasn't fun for a while, and it became fun again. And then I just didn't care about anything other than training and then learning. And everybody goes through those ruts when you plateau. You're like, oh my God, does my jiu-jitsu suck? Am I good? And then, the next day you're like, the fucking greatest thing on the planet. Just honestly, just show up, don't give up. It sucks. I mean, that's why. What's the stats? I think only 3% make it to black belt out of everybody who tries.
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
I think it's only 3% make it to purple belt. Actually, to tell you the truth, I think purple belt is toughest. Is the toughest belt of all to get. Then it's less. It's almost 1%. It may be higher now, just because. I don't even know, honestly. From what I've heard, it's almost less than 1% get their black belt. It's 3% get to their purple belt. Is what
I heard you have a better chance of seeing like a serial killer on the street than you do like a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Like It was like some crazy stat like that. I heard.
Yeah, it really is true. You're a rare case too, because if you've been training, if you've been a purple belt for 4 years, you're closely approaching that brown belt level, and I believe that. Once you get that 3rd stripe, 4th stripe on your purple belt is when you really start to kind of understand what jiu-jitsu really is. And you start to get away from that ego-driven aspect of, I want to tap this guy or I got tapped today. You're not keeping those scores in your mind because you realize that there's really more to jiu-jitsu than that. And one of the things I heard you say that I thought was pretty cool was when you said, just shut the fuck up. And that leads to one of the things that I like, because I always say this all the time. Like, I hate white belts. But the only thing I hate worse than a white belt is blue belt. The only thing I hate worse than a white belt is blue belt. And the reason being is because at least when you're a white belt, you don't know shit. When you're a blue belt, you start to a little shit, but you start to think you know more than what you do know. And you start to kind of like, you quit listening. You start to think, oh, yeah, that's cool. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do anyway. But thanks for the input type stuff. And that's just common. It is what it is. And so you deal with that shit. You go, okay, no big deal. But that's something that I thought was a good point that you made. Just shut the fuck up, come train. And maybe you think you're better than everybody else, but don't, just do it. Keep training, get better, go after things.
I've had my 4th stripe now for about a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
And I still, to this day, I think to myself, fuck, I've been doing this for a decade. I still don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's a cool thing. Like I said, once you start getting on the cusp of that brown belt is where you really start to understand that there's more to this than just learning how to be tough or learning how to be like learning how to win and learning how to get like different submissions. You start to see that there's like an all-encompassing spiritual aspect to learning this and really getting inside of what makes jiu-jitsu work and how it's bigger than just being tough.
Well, to that point, I think it'd be cool to just because we would never really get the chance to talk about this, but Bobby, you went through like the kids belt system. You know, like start like how like when at what age did you start training jiu-jitsu again? Because I think I met you when you were like an orange belt.
Yeah,
like
I started training when I was like 10 or 11, so
Oh,
I've been training like 5-6 years now.
Fuck you. You're gonna be an animal. I hate you, kid. You're gonna be that new crop of just amazing American jiu-jitsu practitioners that just are black belts at 21 that have been training for fucking 12 years.
Hey,
already.
everybody, real quick,
Yeah,
let's just
that's
all say like fuck Bobby real quick. Let's just all like take turns saying, "Hey, Bobby, go fuck yourself because you're really good."
But go ahead. I'm interested in
Yeah,
this myself too. Tell us some of the things.
Yeah,
that
like
you
how did
feel
that
like-
belt progression feel like? Like what was the range?
It's different than like now for me since I'm a blue belt now, like because it takes a lot longer. So when I was going through the kids rank, I'd be getting like a belt like I wouldn't say like every year because Sensei Noon is the slowest belt promoter of all time, but it's different. It's at that time it feels like everything's just there for fun and you don't care about learning technique as much. But as I like slowly age, I realize like this is what I need to do. I need to focus on these different things so I can get better and improve my actual jiu-jitsu. I'm not just here for fun. And that just comes with like my age as I grew.
Do you feel like there was a definite? I get it that the technique wasn't important, it was just fun and stuff like that. But there's definitely a need and a desire to get that next belt. Simply because it's in one of the things that I feel like is great about martial arts in any aspect, and I say this about karate, any fucking aspect you do, is what it teaches kids at a very young age is goal attainment. If you do X, Y, Z, you will get this shiny new belt, and everyone will shake your hand and hug you and tell you you did a great job, and your mom will take you and get you an ice cream sundae afterwards. So, like, I think that from that aspect. Do you feel like as a kid, even despite yourself, you were kind of forced into learning techniques because you wanted to get that belt?
Yeah, well, more when I was younger, I just like I wanted to learn just so I could get the belt.
Right.
Until I became like once I joined the adult class, I think I had to be like 13 or 14 when I joined adult class, and from there, like I saw it as an opportunity to focus on getting my blue belt, even though I still had so many years and I knew I had to be 16, but I was not concerned about the belts in between. I just knew that like, yeah, I'll get those belts over time, just showing my progression. But once I get my blue belt, I want to make sure I'm ready to be a blue belt.
Yeah, you start to understand that it's not just about the belt; it's about what the belt signifies.
Yeah,
and
100%.
how as a juvenile, how many belts did you go through? Because everyone starts at white belt, but I know their system is a little different. And I, as someone that came in to jiu-jitsu like in my like late teens, like what exactly did that look like?
For the juvenile belt or for the kids belts, it's white, gray, yellow, orange, green, with the white this white bar, then solid. And,
For each belt, correct? Like you get the segues. They don't put stripes.
Yeah.
They put stripes on the.
Yeah, you still get stripes.
It's funny. I wish my roommate, actually, the kid that I'm living with, is actually the kids coach at my academy. He has been for shit, man. He's been a kids coach there for fucking like 6 years. We should get him on and let him talk about this because it's something. It's just things that I'm curious about, because I always say this, because I'll have two. Like I don't like to do kids because I just can't. I don't have it in me. I just don't have that in me. I understand child psychology. but it's difficult for me, as accomplished as a teacher and as a practitioner as I am, to spend 50% of the time just getting someone to pay attention to me. Like, I have grown men that literally like hang off my every word when they take a private lesson from me. You know what I'm talking about? And pay me like $120 an hour to do that. The thing I will say about that is this: in the few instances that have trained with a child, I'm talking 8, 10 years old or whatever. Like, I could take an 8-year-old and I could take a 40-year-old man and I could teach them the same exact technique for an hour. And the grown man will be hanging off every word I say, like literally like listening to everything I say, like fucking like, oh my God, like, really, really wanting to learn this thing. And the kid will be like spacing out, and I'll have to smack my fingers and maybe sit him in the corner for a second. And like at the end of that hour, it's almost 100%. Like, the kid will have probably more understanding of what I tried to teach and more retention of what I tried to teach than the adult did. And it's a testament to like how young brains just absorb information. Like, they learn despite themselves.
Oh yeah. I actually helped teach the little kids class at the Hive, the Little Stingers class, and their ages 3 to 6. And like, you'll see kids not paying attention the entire time, but somehow they'll still know the technique,
Right?
Which it gets annoying, but like, it's crazy that they could not be paying attention. You're telling them constantly, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And they're just kids. So they're not, they're doing other things, picking their nose, playing with their toes, whatever kids do. But they still get the technique down. It's just,
Bobby, how many of the little stingers do you think it would take to defeat Ruben?
I love the little names they come up with, things like the little stingers. I've heard like little captains, little generals,
Chris is a
little ninjas.
Chris is a marketing wizard. You gotta give him that. Also, he's just very good with kids. I feel like, whenever I get to see him interacting with the kids. Chris is a great guy, and he's not here to say otherwise. So I'm happy about that.
We've had him on the show. He's a good dude. I like Chris a lot. He was fun. He was a fun guy.
We just got to get Chris to like Chris. That's like the next goal.
Chris likes Chris way more.
Chris, we love you, man.
I know that humble act. Ruben, do you have any kids, man? You got any kids here?
Yeah, man, I got 2 daughters who actually we're supposed to be in Tampa right now.
Oh, really?
I was gonna take them to, they're huge wrestling fans. I was gonna take them to WrestleMania.
Fuck, dude, don't even bring that up, man. I lost so much. I'm like depressed at the amount of money. My bar is literally right downtown Tampa, right near the stadium. Man, the Lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning were crushing it. We had the Final Four coming. We had WrestleMania coming. Like, I was going to bank.
You were gonna buy a Porsche. I was
gonna buy a Porsche. This was gonna be in. I was gonna put my nest egg away and go retire to Fiji.
Yeah, then the virus fucked it all up. But I was actually supposed to be down there with them. They train down in Florida right now. My youngest is really the one who trains the most. She'll be 11 in June, Madeline. By the way, hi girls. I'm Maddie.
Oh,
because they'll be watching. So before you guys hear your father be, complete degenerate.
And now you can stop listening.
She's trained since she was about 4 with me. Where we trained. Then we came over to the Hive a year ago, and it took her to the next level. She's a gray and white belt. She took bronze at American Nationals in July. She's competed up and down all the time. Just loves the sport, loves competing, and said, I mean, it's like you said. I mean, especially watching your own kid, it's crazy because it's like at the same time you're thinking to yourself like, rip that little kid's head off, and at the same time it's like dad kicks like, oh my God, I hope my little girl doesn't get hurt. But
right. We talked to Bruno Bostis about this when we had him on, and one of the famous. We should get Rashid on, freaking Roddy Ferguson on. I forgot about him. I'm gonna get him on for a show because he's awesome. But in particular, I talked about these guys in the difficulty that arises when you become coach and father, particularly at a very young age when they're at that vulnerable state where you want to push them out of the nest and let them go learn how to fly. But you also love them so much, and it tears you apart to see them go through the agony of competition, the winning, the losing, the freaking the concern for this and that, and the crying and all those other things like that. How do you deal with that as a father? Because it's different for fathers. Because mothers, I'm not always, but usually mothers are just like, I want my baby safe. I don't care. Win or lose,
Yeah.
if you win, I love you, but I want safety first. Fathers tend to be like, oh no, we got to toughen this kid up. We got to learn how to walk that line. How do you deal with that as a father?
It's funny you said that because I've sat there and I've coached kid classes at other places, and you watch and you listen to some of these parents, and you listen to them, and you just think to yourself like shut the fuck up, like you don't know what you're talking about. And then like mine was 7. She came up to me. She was just taking the kids class, just here and there, just doing it, just because it was our bonding time. And she's like, Daddy, I want to compete. And I was like, all right, well, whatever, no big deal. I was like, just understand competition's different. Like it's, you're not, playing patty cake with your friends on the side.
It matters.
We did a tap cancer out tournament a few years ago. It was the first one out in Connecticut. Drove all the way there. It was like 6-hour drive. And I love my daughter to death. Her first tournament, she got the shit kicked out of every match. I mean, she got the floor wiped with her. And
How old was she? I'm just curious. When
she was 7 at the time.
So she's still a baby. Not
Yeah,
completely a baby, but because
But
the
it's
little
still like-
ones, the
it's
4 and
neater.
5-year-olds are cute. They don't really
Yeah.
get it. They don't understand it's a competition yet. They just kind of
Yeah,
roll around
and-
and smile and look and shit. But
And I saw her cry a couple times because she got submitted. And like the other coach, one coach I'll never forget, was being a real dick. Like, don't lose to a girl. You got.
Jesus, man.
I'm looking at this dude. I'm thinking to myself like, yo, I can take my stuff off and we can go if you
Yeah,
want.
I know.
It was like one of those kind of guys. Like, he looked like he was 400 pounds and he's never like, even like
Right.
I couldn't fit like an A12 gi type of guy.
Right. He's
So,
he's a jujitsu coach that fucking like
Yeah.
hasn't done jujitsu in fucking years. And
Like,
it
cool, you
shows.
watch YouTube videos. Fuck off.
Right.
Like that kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a Gracie.
So
He's a
she
Gracie
got
University.
smashed. I mean, completely annihilated. And my fear wasn't okay. She lost. It's like I'm thinking to myself like, she's gonna hate the sport.
Right.
The entire ride home, she was on her iPad with the headphones on, and I'm like, oh man, like this is gonna just suck. Like what? Like I didn't know. I
Right.
comforting, but try not to be like, try like cause splitting the line. It's a fine line you have to walk sometimes. Right. The coach, and the next morning was Sunday morning. I'm getting up to go teach kids class. And she walks out her bag. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to class. I'm like, well, you don't have to. You competed yesterday. She goes, yeah, I lost. I was like, it's okay. She's like, losing sucks, Dad. What you make Rocky movies for? And
Funny.
when
That's
I tell you
great.
like that, I think that competition was more of an eye opener for her than for me because I kind of like I didn't know how to approach it. I guess just letting her be. Ever since then, she, like I said, she took bronze at nationals. She's won, Grappler's Quest, Good Fights. I mean, anything you can think of in the sun, she's won it. She's also lost, but like she's, it's like this switch popped with her. Like it became, when it's on the match, it's time to go. Like, and then off the match, she's a kid. And for the longest time, I refused to like compete because I myself said I can't compete and focus on myself. If I have to focus on her, it's too much mentally straining because like, my first concern as a father, God forbid, she gets hurt, her neck gets, gets doubled, because you see kids all the time, like they'll slam each other and like at a second time too, like a coach, you're trying to like, sit there and, listen to my voice, follow. It's just, it's a hard line to separate, but once you figure it out, it's, I don't know, there isn't another, I don't know how to describe it. The bond I have with my little girl, just sport, it's something I can't like, I just can't describe. Like I noticed like if other people coach her, she'll do one of these keep looking back. But like if I could say it's 100 feet away, she knows exactly it's me, what I'm doing. It's like that, it's like I said, that coach, that bond. And it's I think it's better because, father, daughter.
It's a funny thing because like there's a weird thing, and I'm not a father, but I had a very unique relationship with my father. My father and me were very close, and I competed my entire life, and he was always there to watch me compete and always cheer me on. And I could always remember hearing his voice in the background. It's one of my fondest memories. I'm a little teary thinking about it. It's one of my fondest memories of my father, that he was always there at every competition, like my biggest cheerleader, and he loved me. But the point I'm trying to make is like, as a father, there's a very special, unique feeling of pride that comes from that, because like it's a pride that you internalize, because you don't like mothers want the recognition. Mothers want the hi mom. Mothers want you to give them a hug. Bill Cosby does a really funny skit about this. I can't talk about Bill Cosby anymore. Whatever. I'm sorry. Edit that out, Kev.
Yeah.
hit the bleep button.
I'm gonna hit the bleep button. Yeah.
The point of it is like there's a unique relationship as a father, because a father doesn't care about the spotlight. The father doesn't care about wanting to be like the doesn't want to live through their kid vicariously. Sometimes they do, and they're assholes like that. But a father is just cool with the fact of like, that's my kid, and inside they're like, that's my fucking kid. You understand what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, you don't have to be there in the spotlight with him, but in your mind, and everybody else, and you can like feel it with the other fathers and be like, yeah, my kid.
I think that I've my dad has been very supportive of my jujitsu, and so is my mom. She hasn't been able to come to any like tournaments or practices, but she's just been very. I've got two very supportive parents for that part of my life, and even though I've never had my mom come to a tournament, just because she's like very busy working all the time, I was when we went to the NJ Fed. And Christy was there. She was like the mom for everybody. She was like keeping stuff on lock and like making sure everyone was feeling good and like getting ready. So in a lot of ways, I feel like the team that you're training with can be that sort of family. And that's like a thing everybody says, but you never really feel it until it's you and you're in that spot and you're needing that help and a bunch of people are there to help you.
Right. Yeah, it's a cool feeling. What are some of your experiences? First of all, like I want to, before we leave, don't let me forget about talking about being a referee and watching how horrible I hate fucking parents that don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's the freaking I on a daily basis.
I was gonna not
parents.
Like I was
coaches.
gonna not talk about it because I know how you get.
I am disgusted sometimes when you talked about how like the guy you were talking about, don't lose to a girl. Like, I am disgusted when I see the way some coaches approach their coaching style in the horrible freaking lessons that it teaches these young kids at a very young age, that like winning is everything. And like, we're going to go through this entire, like, we're talk trash about our opponents and get loud and angry. It just defeats the entire purpose of child development at that stage. And I hate it so much. I hate it so much. But anyway, Bobby, sorry, I had to leave that because I see that shit every fucking day.
Bobby, how much do you hate parents?
Yeah, how much do you hate parents? Yeah, Ruben, do you agree with me in that regard?
100%, man. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Listen, not as a referee point of view, but I've seen like we're actually, people going against my daughter, and like I'll just look at her and I'll just be like under my breath, like, fuck his shit up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
like I used to say FSU, like she meant like because I didn't want to curse him. Fuck shit. And she would just tear this. She's like, why'd I do it? I'm like, his dad was talking shit.
His dad's a dick. Yeah, and it's funny too because like the parents sometimes like I don't appreciate it and I don't agree with it. And I do my best as a referee to be like, hey, y'all need to calm the fuck down. But what I don't like is the actual coaches. Like, it's the coaches sometimes that portray that. What makes it even worse, because when the coach does it, the parents are looking for reactions, and now they see the coach acting in that manner, and the parents get involved. And it's like, man, dude, it's an 8-year-old, brother. This isn't the fucking like nationals or the Mundials here, man. Like, let these kids have fun. That's what this is all about, enjoying the love of competition. Anyway,
but yeah, Bobby, as someone who's been at the grind, you've been the kid. You've been in that position, and this was back when you only had you were 5 and you only had a goatee and a mustache. Like, what was it like for you back? Like, did you experience that at all?
You're still smoking cigars though.
Yeah, you had a stogie.
100%, yeah. No, but I definitely experienced that as being the kid, and like hearing other parents just start screaming nonsense, like telling kids completely like just I don't know how to put this. Telling kids things not like just beat them up and do this and yeah, and they have no idea what they're talking about because they've never trained, but they think if they just spit out fighting words, then it's gonna somehow get their kid to win. As the kid, I never really paid attention to that, but I've always and I also have a dad who doesn't. If he hears stuff about that, he's not really going to do anything about it because he knows I don't care about it.
Right.
Ever since I was a kid, I never really cared about that. But I've always hated those parents who did that to other people, because I've seen kids get upset when their parents yell at them to beat up other kids.
Well,
because like that doesn't make them happy.
I think that part of what makes you like, again, we start talking about what makes jiu-jitsu great. It's the idea of being able to maintain calm and keep yourself in the cortex of your brain instead of going to the limbic system and going in your fight or flight responses and maintaining that level of calm. And it's one thing on a training mat. It's another completely different thing on the competition mat, because it matters at this point. And when you have parents like freaking screaming and accentuating that freaking fervor in their kids' brain, you're not helping them. You're hurting them. You're instilling wrong. I mean, I guess to a certain degree, you can look at it and say, well, at least it teaches you how to deal with that extra stimulus. But
and really that's another testament to jiu-jitsu, because imagine if this was like boxing and you're telling your kid to punch another kid unconscious, even though I don't know if headshots are like legal in junior boxing like that. But like at the end of a jiu-jitsu match, you're defeated, you're maybe a little sore, but if you did everything, like if you were smart and you tapped when you needed to, you're look at the little guy.
By the way.
Oh, definitely official Jiu-Jitsu Times mascot. But yeah, at the end of a jiu-jitsu match, you're demoralized, you're beaten up, but like you shouldn't be too injured, like things happen obviously, but you should be pretty good. It's mental. It's a mental defeat, and I think that's amazing for kids. I think it's amazing to get those mental defeats that don't leave you like with physical damage in the way other sports can. Like football, you're getting knocked around like a rag doll. Like so many, like hockey, your brain is bouncing around in the inside of your head. Like you crash in hockey, a part of the game is crashing into boards, and they're not like padded.
Yeah,
they
don't give very
They're
much.
just hard plastic boards that have glass that sometimes breaks. Like when you think about that, like jiu-jitsu is great for teaching kids that mental, like you were defeated physically, it sucked, but now you should be able to get right back up on the horse, mentally.
And you know what, Kevin, to touch on you saying that, and I could speak this not just from for instance, my own daughter. As you know, in December, Bobby and I went to Worlds. We each competed, on back-to-back separate days. And one thing I could say is for a 16-year-old kid on probably the biggest stage he could be on at that time for jiu-jitsu, there wasn't an ounce of nerves that I saw. I mean, like the confidence, like watching him, because I was there from the time we left, to go the entire time and everything. And the thing I say, just mental preparation alone, like I said, like you're talking about a 16-year-old kid who, if he was doing like, I don't know, some high school sport, probably would shit himself in the bathroom, or who during a math test or whatever. But like watching him about to go out there and fight another human being, like I said, at a world-class level and not sweat like that. I mean, like when I tell you this kid's preparation and how focused he was, I haven't seen adults like that. And to think of and the first thing I said to myself, like this kid's 16, like in like 5 years, I'm fucked. Like seriously hurt him just so he doesn't like beat me up. Like I'm gonna have to hook him in a gi and just it's getting
I think a lot of that comes from, and this is where we're gonna start seeing like true American jiu-jitsu start to shine. When a part of that comes from just doing jiu-jitsu for so long at a very young age that like it's just like another day. Like you know things. And again, as a child, you learn things, and you learn how to speak and you learn how to walk as a child, and you never forget those things because they are just permanently ingrained in your mind, because your brain is designed to absorb that information at such an accelerated rate at a young age. So when you're jamming into your brain at that young age all the aspects of jiu-jitsu that are being taught and instilled into you, it makes now when you go out to compete, like that is just such a part of your being that you don't have to sweat it anymore. And I understand there's also, like, you're at the Worlds and there's definitely going to be that exasperation. But what I've noticed is it builds almost like a savant like knowledge. And that's why we see all these Brazilians that are so amazing and win the world champions, because they've been competing and training from fucking 8 years old, 10 years old. It's just a part of them.
Bobby, actually, just from your own perspective, what was it like to compete on that kind of stage as young as you are?
That when I went out there for Worlds, it didn't feel like anything different. It just felt like I was going for another fight. But I'm so used to that at this point that it's just another day to me. And I mean, yeah, of course, like, oh, cool, I'm in California and everything, and I'm here at the World Championship tournament. Like, that probably got to me for maybe 10 minutes of my time a week before. And I only got nervous for a little bit. And I had so much other things to be nervous about with that trip because I was paying for everything. I had to make sure Ruben made weight. Like, there's so much more stuff I had to deal with.
I almost died, by the way.
Yeah.
You definitely did. Put in a sauna for 3 hours. But, like, there was so much stuff I had to worry about other than my fight that I already knew I did all my preparation for my fight. So I wasn't really worried about it. It was just another fight for me.
Oh, real quick, shout out to Scotty Karate and the other guys at Legion Jiu-Jitsu, Keenan School. You guys stopped there to help prepare for Worlds.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we trained with Andreas, Scott. Let me tell you, man, like Andreas we both got to roll with him. First of all, amazing class, great dude, great school. I wish Keenan none but the best, man. It was like I messaged him a week earlier. It's like, come on down. It was such a cool atmosphere. Like me and Bobby walked in, we're like holy shit, this place is huge. And then we trained with Andreas, hung out with him afterwards. It was like such a cool, like I said, I made the comment to Bobby a while ago, when we go back out for Worlds again, like that's where I want to go train and like hang out. Like it was such a cool vibe. He was such a cool dude. And then I felt like such fucking, like, my jiu-jitsu of 10 years was garbage after I rolled with him for like 5 minutes because like he barely broke a sweat. I felt like everything I've learned was out the window.
I've never met Keenan, but I've met Josh Hanger and a couple of guys out there before. Keenan seems like a pretty good dude. There's some good drama going on with Keenan, but maybe we won't touch on that today.
Yeah, I think that we'll save that for the next episode. We'll save that for the next episode, just because Bobby, why did you do that, man? Why did you start beef between Gordon and Keenan, man?
Jesus, Bobby.
It's just instinct for me to cause problems,
Bobby.
I don't even know I started them, but I just do.
Troublemaker.
Chris, I know we talked a lot about belt demotions in the last episode, but Chris needs to bump you down to orange belt, man. Like this is ridiculous. This is
the IBJJF wouldn't allow that, so I'm stuck here.
The IBJJF wouldn't allow.
He's too old.
He's too old.
He'll just be a blue belt till he's 30.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to freeze your account, like freeze your thing.
And I'm just gonna be like Ruben, the same belt for like 4 years.
Ooh, and on that little tasty bit of spitfire, I think it is good to bring this edition of this episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast to a close. As always, I have been your host, Kevin Bradley, joined by my co-host Kevin Gallagher. Ruben, Bobby, thank you so much for stopping by. You guys have any closing remarks?
I just want to give a shout out to my sponsor at KO Kimonos. Awesome. Thanks for everything. And Bobby, I fucking hate you.
Yeah, just Bobby, you suck.
Jesus,
man.
Bobby, I don't even know you. I don't like you now, kid. Jesus,
Kevin, you're officially a member of the.
Love the show. Love watching you guys too. By the way,
hey man, this is a good show, man. I appreciate you guys coming on. This was fun. I appreciate having some of the conversations we had with you about the purple belt, what it means, and just some of your aspects and your introspection on having kids in jiu-jitsu. I thought it was good. And then Bobby, you're fucking awesome. I'm gonna hate you in a couple of years. I'm gonna roll with your ass here pretty soon just to fucking see what all.
Kevin, I think first rule of the Hive is hating Bobby. So you're you're an unofficial member of the Hive family. I feel like
I have seen nothing but an awesome kid from you, Bobby. So keep training.
Yeah, no, he's great. That's why we hate him. That's he's too good, and his beard is too full. Like you gotta hate him. Look at this guy.
I'm terrible.
He's got too many swords. Like you got that sword in the background there.
A lightsaber.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you
guys.
next time.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys very much.
No doubt, guys.